Right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the webcast related to the financial management program and the financial management uh, subject discipline that are being offered at the business school at LUMS. My name is Rizvi. I'm one of the faculty members in finance at Syed Aun R School of Business, and we're actually very excited to have with us two of our alumni who have gone into financial sector and have done wonders. I'm very pleased to have Mr. Ali Farid Khwaja, who is an LUMS alumni, and currently he's serving as the chairman of KASB Securities. He has had an illustrious career in finance spanning across continents, across multiple countries. And I'll shortly request Mr. Ali Farid to introduce himself. We also have Hashim Ali with us. Hashim is as well is an LUMS alumni, and Hashim has gone towards fintech industry, and he is currently a co-founder of a fintech startup based out of Lahore. So thank you and welcome, Ali and Hashim. It's a pleasure to have you here, and thank you very much for taking the time out. If I could request both of you, to basically discuss okay, your background and your journey through the financial world, from your time at LUMS to where you are currently. How's the journey been, and what all you've done in the financial sector? Ali, if you can kindly discuss about that.
Absolutely. Firstly, thank you for calling me on. It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to connect with LUMS. And so as you said, came in a LUMS. I was in the class of 2003. I did a double major in computer science and economics. Then I stayed on. I did masters in economics. I was in the first class of MSc economics. And then I got the Rhodes Scholarship. So I went to Oxford and did financial economics over there. And then I joined UBS, where I did technology research, covered Nokia, Ericsson, and Alcatel, which was the technology sector in Europe at that time. Then moved to the buy side, joined a hedge fund, invested in emerging markets, starting from Russia, Eastern Europe, Middle East, Africa, going all the way down to South Africa. And then moved back to technology research, focused on fintech, then became a CFO and CEO of one of the listed fintech companies, which was listed on London Stock Exchange, called SafeCharge. तो जब आप थाई एयरवेज पर टिकट बुक कराते हैं तो जो पेमेंट प्रोसेसर है वो SafeCharge है. And then I became a partner at Autonomous Research, head of their fintech coverage. And then 3 years ago, I relaunched KASB Securities, which is an investment bank, stock brokerage in Pakistan. And as you said, I'm the chairman of KASB. So that's my journey.
Thank you, Ali. That's really interesting. So you've been across continents, across multiple countries, experienced a lot of different cultures and different financial environments, right? So Hashim, if you can kindly tell us about your background as well.
Brilliant. First of all, thank you for having me on. So of course, the list is definitely not as long as Ali Saab's, but it is. I will add what I can. So I was part of LUMS. I was 2012 batch. So I was an accounting and finance major. We were coincidentally the first batch we directly hired for this major. So we were very proud of that at that time. Post that I was in banking for some time with Standard Chartered. I very quickly knew that I wanted to do something different. So the first chance I went for my master's in finance. Over there, I did my CFA as well. So I was in the States I did my master's from George Washington. And I knew that I needed to juggle both academic finance, which was the master's, and the more practical side of finance, which was the CFA. Coming back to Pakistan was always the goal. So I came back and I knew more or less I needed to be both in academia and on the startup side. So I was part of 2 startups. Currently, I'm co-founder of a startup by the name of Cashew Financials and Muawin, where we are a digital lender in working capital. At the same time, also teach. So I teach at LUMS.
Okay, thank you, Hashim. So, Ali, आपका मतलब experience, you've been in Pakistan, you've been in other parts, and now you've relaunched an investment bank and a brokerage house in Pakistan 3 years ago. Um, so if and then, a question that is normally asked is how what is your opinion about the financial sector landscape in Pakistan? Do you see growth in it? Where is it heading towards? आपका मतलब इस पे क्या है, मतलब are you positive और क्यों अगर है तो, या negative, जो भी आपका opinion है?
I'm certainly positive. That's why I am investing in Pakistan, and I live in London, so इसलिए मैंने स्वेटर पहना हुआ है. आपने शुरू में बोला था कि आपको गर्मी बड़ी लग रही है, अगर it's 8 degrees outside. So as you pointed out, that I've worked in Europe for the last 16 years. I still live in London. My wife is a fund manager at Aberdeen Standard. She's also alumnus. So for me, I see a lot of potential in Pakistan. Certainly, our capital markets and financial markets are small, but that's exactly why there's a potential for growth. We all know the bull case about Pakistan: 200 million people, young population, growing middle class. Typically, जब आप financial perspective से देखते हैं, investors like to invest in markets where other people are not investing. So it's, you have to follow the path which is least trodden. That's where you get the highest alpha. So hence, Pakistan for me was a contrarian trade, but finance teaches us that you make highest return in contrarian trades. So yes, I certainly see a lot of potential.
So Ali, with your background in technology and fintech, you actually came back to Pakistan and you went into the traditional financial sector organization, मतलब investment banking and brokerage, which is जो core है capital markets का. So why that shift from a technology, and you're considered a specialist in fintech and technology in the region, और आपने चूज किया पाकिस्तान में एक ट्रेडिशनल फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर फर्म को रीलॉन्च करना, उसके पीछे मतलब सम स्ट्रैटेजी या कोई आपके ख्याल में कि पाकिस्तान में जरूरत किस चीज की इस वक्त है उस? हाँ,
great question. It's a great question. So actually, KSB is a fintech company. So we have an app, K-Trade, which is the most downloaded fintech app, investment app in Pakistan, with over 200,000 registered users. So it's like Robinhood of Pakistan. Now, the reason why we don't act juvenile in terms of we don't want to call ourselves a startup is because it's a serious undertaking. We are dealing with people's cash. We are dealing with their investments. So when you're dealing with a serious undertaking, you almost have to be slightly more mature in terms of your branding, your profile, your regulatory approach, your organization structure. So that's why there is the clock of the foundation of a serious, mature financial company, but the organization is actually is a fintech business. Most of our employees are very senior tech guys, and our whole initiative is the digital app through which जिसके through लोग invest करते हैं. So it's a great question that to be a successful fintech company, you have to think very seriously about compliance, about regulation. And I think that's where I feel a lot of fintech companies in Pakistan are slightly, they are not aware of the business models, and they're not aware of the gravity of those things.
That's really interesting. Hashim, since we're talking about fintech and you're currently a co-founder of a fintech company as well, as a fintech startup to be precise, आपका क्या ख्याल है, मतलब पाकिस्तान में सिर्फ फाइनेंशियल इंडस्ट्री में fintech landscape में, you've been a part of it for the last 5 to 6 years in sitting in Pakistan. How has it moved, or where is it going towards being a startup venture in this interesting times in Pakistan?
I think I could just give you, as Ali was saying, that the bull case of Pakistan is in front of everybody. Repeating it, frankly, doesn't really hold much value because it is in front of us. We are one of the main investable markets. Only in inefficient markets can you earn supernormal returns. All of those things do make sense. Having said that, when I came back and to this point, we have a very progressive regulatory regime. We have every single year you see the regulators either opening up and being more progressive about what changes are required. At the same time, we have our business grads slowly understanding what are global level trends, which they are then emulating in Pakistan. So as we were just talking on K-Trade, Robinhood, one of the major unicorns of Pakistan, that's a brilliant thing for it to be needed. We need these kind of business models. But for that to happen, we first must also understand what is out there, and then how do we emulate it in Pakistan. So we have our accelerators, we have our incubators, we have this ecosystem evolving very quickly, and we have more and more people willing to draw the path less taken, which is your startup ecosystem, startup risks, which are frankly quite cognitively dissonant for people who are more used to going to FMCGs or major banks, just staying there for the past 5-10 years and saying, "Abhi to baari aani hai, abhi promotion ki baari aayegi, phir dekhi jayegi." But these sort of changes are happening very quickly, and it is crucial for our new business grads and grads overall in Pakistan to be willing to take that plunge as well.
Great, thank you, Hashim. Ali, I'll come back to you. You've had a very successful career in finance and technology and fintech. What do you think, or आपके ख्याल में, मतलब, because a lot of people who are viewing this right now are young people who've done their undergraduates or who are pursuing their masters. Finance में अगर financial markets में finance की field में अगर career बनाना है, तो उसके लिए मतलब क्या key ingredients हो सकते हैं, या from your experience, what helped you in being successful and in reaching the point where you are now? Matlab, what works, what doesn't work from your experience in the financial markets?
So it's a great and very important question, but it's also a very wide question. So let me just break it down. Because finance is a very broad field. Or this was very hard for even me to understand, when I went from Pakistan and I went to Oxford, because जब हम पाकिस्तान से financial market को समझने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो हमारा जो exposure होता है वो बड़ा narrow होता है. हमें commercial banking के बारे में पता होता है. कमर्शियल बैंकिंग के अंदर हमें ये पता होता है कि वो एक इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग आई, कॉर्पोरेट फाइनेंस की एक टीम होगी जो कि जिनको ज़्यादा सैलरीज मिलती है, तो हमें उसके बारे में पता होता है. और हमें थोड़ा बहुत एसेट मैनेजमेंट के बारे में पता होता है और स्टॉक ब्रोकरेज के बारे में पता होता है. स्टॉक ब्रोकरेज के अंदर भी पाकिस्तान क्योंकि एक छोटी मार्केट है, तो हमें सिर्फ एक्विटीज के बारे में पता होता है, ओनली स्टॉक्स. Now, globally, the financial markets are far bigger and broader than the spectrum which I showed you. For example, जब मैंने ऑक्सफोर्ड से ग्रेजुएट किया, तो मेरे दोस्त जो थे वो अप्लाई कर रहे थे एक्सोटिक्स ट्रेडिंग डेस्क के अंदर, ABS ट्रेडिंग डेस्क के अंदर, स्ट्रक्चरिंग के अंदर, कॉर्पोरेट फाइनेंस के अंदर डिफरेंट फील्ड्स थी, M&A था, सेक्टर बैंकिंग थी, तो हेज फंड्स थे, हेज फंड्स की भी मुख्तलिफ किस्मात उसमें उनकी कैटेगरीज थी. तो different roles in finance require different things. So if we take a step back, typically what happens, especially मैं आपको लंदन और यूरोप की एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ, typically if you go to a plain vanilla field, for example equities, in which I have worked, is a plain vanilla area. In that they like people who have good communication skills, writing skills, interpersonal skills, because at the end of the day your job boils down to dealing with either your clients or dealing with your colleagues, because either you're winning business or you're working with other people who are winning business. मैं आपको ये भी बताता चलूं कि यूरोप में और यूएस में इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग करियर में काम करना बहुत मुश्किल है. हमारे वर्किंग आवर्स जो होते हैं वो 80 आवर्स पर वीक होते हैं. मैं जब यूबीएस में मैंने ज्वाइन किया, मेरा स्टार्टिंग टाइम होता था 6:45. अगर मैं 6:50 पे पहुंचता था तो मेरा बॉस कहता था यार लेट हो गए तुम, और रात के 9-10 बजे मैं घर जाता था. तो because our office hours are so long and because our work is so intense, when they're hiring, they want to hire people who they want to spend 12 hours or 13 hours a day with. So that's why they're looking for social skills and generic skills and the ability to work hard. This is in plain vanilla sectors. Now, if you go to other sectors, for example, fixed income, for example, derivatives. So these are These are not plain vanilla. These are derivatives of equities. In this, they're looking for quantitative skills. So they're looking for maths major. They're looking at computer science. They're looking at physics. A lot of PhD physics come and work in those sectors. तो अगर आप लंदन में देखते हैं तो एक इंटरेस्टिंग बाइफिकेशन है एक्विटीज में, इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग में आपको ज्यादातर you'll find white European men, और फिक्स्ड इनकम में, करेंसीज में, जिसको कहते हैं फिग FICC यूनिट, उसके अंदर you'll find Chinese, Indians, Pakistanis, because that's where quantitative skills are required. But in both areas, you have to work very hard. And I think that's the most important skill set. The most important skill set is working hard, networking, meeting people. That's the most important thing.
All right. So this is really interesting. So हमारे यहाँ पाकिस्तान में हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग जब हम फाइनेंस के बारे में बात करते हैं तो इज मच लिमिटेड एज कंपेयर टू द ग्लोबल लैंडस्केप जो आपने भी किया. मतलब एक चीज मतलब व्हिच वाज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग जो आपने कहा कि वर्किंग हार्ड इज द कॉमन डिनोमिनेटर इन सब में. सो हाशिम, at this point मतलब I would like to ask you to jump in. Hashim, since you're also teaching along with your industry role, you're also engaged with the business school at LUMS. What is your perception? And you're into the startup sector. What is your perception, both from the side as a market player, as an industry person, as well as कि हमारे students का in terms of their working hard, in terms of their focus, क्या positives हैं और क्या चीजें हैं जो improve की जा सकती हैं?
Brilliant. So since we see both sides of the coin regularly, both from hiring and actually producing these candidates as well, there's really no dearth of people being excited. They would like to have the new next shiny thing, and usually your careers are frankly pretty much formulaic still. We still have that same, the industries might change, but we're still looking out for that one major thing that we could brag about, that we could boast about, be it, let's say, your McKinsey or Bains of the world now, that they are the next big thing. Management consulting looks fancy, you get to travel, you get to meet new people, brilliant, that's all well and good. But I fully concur with the argument where it's not about even hard work is a given. The hustle life, the working through it all, being actually tackling a problem through day in, day out, that much is pretty much a given in if you want to do well in any given field. But the one major thing that we truly do need to work on is frankly our ability to understand and really break apart what is happening in the world, and then our ability to then even emulate it back here in Pakistan. We like to talk a big game what's happening in China, what's happening in India, Pakistan, US, UK, European Union, wherever. But Amazon might be what it is today. It might be our first $1 trillion company. But if I were to emulate it back in Pakistan, I cannot just Control-C, Control-V everything. They requires not just the hard work going behind the scenes we really can't see, but even the business model would require tweaks, which would mean that you would need the ability to really grapple with problems that they face versus what are the problems in Pakistan. If you talk about, let's say, finance here, regulatory environment might be really different. A startup idea might be working very well in the US, but because the regulatory environment is truly different, the cost of doing business will be different. So when you bring it back here, you need to change all those different underlying factors. So it's not just making a very pretty Excel and saying, here it is, give me $5 million. It's more about, have you really done the work behind it to understand what every single assumption that you are feeding in. I really look at finance as the best tool that we have if we need to understand any major area of the world, because at the end of the day, it all boils down to numbers going here and there. And through a proper financial understanding, if you have those very basic skill sets, even time value of money, it makes your ability to evaluate problems all the more easier.
So Hashim, what I'm getting is from what you're saying is that no matter what we do, as Ali had talked about, working hard is at the core. But you're also saying is that finance, not learning finance is not only a requirement for, or not only a prerequisite for financial sector, but learning finance is something which we need as a life skill.
Definitely.
All right. So, yeah. So that's so that kind of like so finance is not only for financial sector, but something like learning basic maths, something जो हमारे अपने किसी भी field में we go into, and yeah, और हमारी अपनी personal life में भी helps us in improving our decision making.
Right.
Hashim, so you've been teaching in Pakistan as well, in Pakistani universities for some time, for the last 3 to 4 years regularly. How do you see, matlab, what if you were to gauge the graduates that are coming out in Pakistan? Do you think, and Ali Saab has talked about the requirements, he's briefly touched upon the requirements, that globally the financial sector has. Do you think our graduates in Pakistan are ready to go and compete at that level?
So one thing that I was frankly very proud of being a LUMS grad myself is frankly the rigor that LUMS really, even as an undergrad, put us through. The fact is, quizzes every all week, the ability to, as we were talking about before, the ability to work hard, really push yourself, get something done. That is something that we have really, that has helped me throughout. And I'm pretty sure Alisa will agree to that as well. But what we are seeing today is frankly, people running away from slightly more harder, more technical oriented fields where they're trying to just either do just marketing, something that is more simple, even frankly, degrees such as what we're talking about today, MS Financial Management. These are quite tricky areas, even be it data science, be it any of the more modern oriented fields, which require a lot more hands-on passion about them. So from what we are seeing is our graduates over time have skewed towards the more easier to digest fields, at least at the undergrad level, and even at the master's level are shying away from them. And that's something that we really need to slowly bring them back to the fold, because these are not just skills to train you for one field. It's not just going, I would like to be a buy-side trader. That's really not it. Even if you want to be a product manager at a tech house, maybe that these sort of skills are what you require. That's something that I essentially, that's my field. So that's essentially, I might never have been corporate banker, but the pure financial skill set has helped me throughout my tech journey. So these are skills that are crucial for any graduate.
Okay, that's interesting. Alisa, you're probably one of the best examples of a person who has a combination of computer science, a hardcore technical degree, along with majors in economics, and then you did your master's in finance. In your financial career, or in your basically career in the financial sector, how important or how beneficial was your hardcore technical skills that you and qualitative skills that you gained from your undergraduate?
Great question. So they were important. पर अगर मैं थोड़ी सी मैं शायद controversial बात करूं, based on controversial compared to what we have been discussing so far. जब हम लम्स में आए थे तो हमारे एक टीचर थे खुरम हुसैन, जो कि डॉन में एडिटर है अब. उन्होंने एक बात की थी कि the only thing you learn in undergrad is how to read a book, and that was very, very true and wise. The thing which I learned the most from LUMS was that in every quarter, at that time we had a quarter system. Every quarter we had a new subject. At the start of the quarter, we knew nothing of that subject. By the end of the quarter, we were fairly equipped in that subject. And that might be a new computer language. It might be a course on philosophy. It might be a course on politics, European history, economics. So the thing which we learned the most from LUMS, or at least I learned the most from LUMS, was the ability to pick up any new book, work hard on it, put the nighters in, and by the end of the quarter, be sufficiently equipped in knowing about it, but also remembering the fact that I would forget that book after four months. So it taught me the process of learning and de-learning. And it gave me the confidence that I might de-learn everything, but I can again read the book whenever I want to and learn it again. And that's the most important thing in the job, especially a job in finance, let's say in UK, in investment banking. Because one day you are covering, you as an investor, for example, one day you're looking at a data center and you want to have to invest in that data center. The next day you're looking at a semiconductor company. The fourth day you're looking at a 5G company. And the sixth day you're looking at healthcare and trying to solve which pharmaceutical company you should invest in, which has the best solution for COVID. So the only way you do it is by learning and relearning and reading and having that confidence that you'll be able to learn whatever you want to. So I think that's the most important learning from LUMS: the ability to learn, the ability to de-learn, the ability to work hard, and the confidence that whatever it may be, you can learn it. Which is why one of the very important things they consider while hiring here in UK is language skills. और वो हमारी बड़ी वीक होती है कि वो कहते हैं कि जी फ्रेंच, यहाँ पे बड़े लोग होते हैं जो 8-8 लैंग्वेज बोलते हैं, 4-4 यूरोपियन लैंग्वेज बोलते हैं, और हम उर्दू और / हिंदी लिख देते हैं साथ के, 2 लैंग्वेज काउंट कर दो और साथ इंग्लिश लिख देते हैं, कहते हैं 3 लैंग्वेज हो गई. मगर यहाँ पे लोग जो हैं वो फ्रेंच भी बोलते हैं, स्पेनिश भी बोलते हैं और इटालियन भी बोलते हैं. So that's our for us as Pakistanis working in Europe, that's the weakness which we have.
Right. So this is interesting. So ये आपने जो languages की बात की, linguistic ability की बात की, that links back to जो आपने earlier communication की भी बात की थी कि communication is something which in financial sector is focused on. Do you think so? मतलब that kind of puts our fellows or our countrymen at kind of a slight disadvantage if when competing in the global market space then. I mean, मतलब बात की कि learning and just learning how to read a book. Okay, so you've gone through 4 years of LUMS, and then you've done a master's at LUMS, and then later at Oxford. So you've been at the best university in Europe, and you've been at the top business school in Pakistan as well. From a learning perspective, do you think your experience at LUMS has somehow or is as good or competitive as your peers who have come in from different places and competing with you in the international markets?
Absolutely. LUMS was top tier. The education quality was great. And that's why you see, like, I think not me, but everybody, all the cohort, the people who have graduated from LUMS have done great. They're doing really good in their careers wherever they're working in the US and around the world and in Pakistan. So I think we have, and they're working at top places like Amazon, Google, Facebook. So I think we have sufficient proof of that. But I'll raise one point. The first week I went to Oxford, so I went to the business school, did financial economics, a very quantitatively rigorous program. The first week they gave us a project. We worked very hard. उन्होंने मीटिंग कॉल कर ली सारे स्टूडेंट्स की. हम समझे कि शायद प्रोजेक्ट अच्छा नहीं किया, तो जो डीन था उसने कहा कि आपका प्रोजेक्ट बहुत अच्छा था और ये मसला है. उन्होंने कहा ये मसला है क्योंकि आप यहाँ पर आए हुए हो, अगर आप इतना ज़्यादा प्रोजेक्ट में काम कर रहे हो ना, तो इसका मतलब है कि आप एक दूसरे के साथ नहीं मिल रहे, आप जाके ऑक्सफोर्ड में बाकी एक्टिविटीज़ नहीं कर रहे. और उन्होंने बोला आप यहाँ पर आए हो तो इट्स इम्पॉर्टेंट who you know, not only what you know. और अगर and that was a very very wise in hindsight that was the wisest comment that मेरे जो क्लास फेलोज थे उनमें से एक इस वक्त सेक्रेटरी ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन है यूएस का, पीट बुटिजेज, और कुछ एमडीज हैं, कुछ कंपनीज के ओनर्स हैं, एक चाइना में बिलियनियर है. So if you spend too much time studying, that meant you're not spending time meeting people. And I thought that was the key difference between LUMS and Oxford, that I thought LUMS was more competitive in terms of, they were always, because grade pe wo curve pe grading hoti thi, while Oxford was much more collaborative.
All right. Okay, that's interesting. So that's curve pe grading, yes, at LUMS is always a challenge. But in some of our graduate programs, we've moved to absolute grading scheme. To again, मतलब उसके पीछे background में यही है कि to make it a bit more to give them more space to learn. Or over the years, my graduate programs, जो है, they've been more, they're being redesigned as more experiential based. Uh, so to get the right balance of pure academic as well as industry and experiential component into it. Hashim, uh, so we've heard from Ali Saab his experience at LUMS, and then the contrast he saw at Oxford. You were at LUMS a few years after Ali Saab was here, and then you went to US to do your masters. How was your experience of the LUMS experience, and then compare it to your later North American university experience?
So the funny thing is, because we're all alums family right now, in the sense that experiences were frankly quite similar. I was an ACF major at that time. It was extremely rigorous. I was a batch of 60 kids who were part of it, and it was pretty breakneck throughout the 4 years that I was here. Fast forward to the States. Frankly, the first year I was able to enjoy and just do everything that I really wanted to travel, because at LUMS had prepped me that for the first year I really did not feel the need to really. I felt that I was ahead of all my peers at that point. That might have, while I was at LUMS, that might have felt like we were putting in a bit more work, is a bit more rigorous. But frankly, it's at your graduate level when it's true, your network speaks wonders. Any top business school, be it anywhere in the world, it is not what they're teaching you in the classroom, it's what they're teaching you outside the classroom. It's the people who are around you. As he said, knowing Pete Buttigieg might get you a few government contracts in the States right now, maybe not, but in a sense, nice people to know. But it's essentially that the LUMS does prep you, be it in whatever way, shape, or form. It's that culture that it imbues, be it. And these are all very interesting anecdotes to take. Book a semester. It's just things that you really do hold for a very long time. It's that passion that we would hope our graduates to take for a number of years with them. It is Elon Musk is, at least he likes to market himself that he reads a book, I think a book a day or something of the sort. But that's something that we teach for our graduates. Why is that such a big deal? So that culture, that air, that existence within LUMS, Char Diwali is something to be treasured, be it for 2 years for a graduate program, be it for the undergrad. And the people that you meet here, the best thing is the vast background that you have, be it for a LUMS NOP program, National Outreach Program, be it for people who are on even scholarships, or people who are frankly from the wealthiest families in Pakistan. Is that hodgepodge of people from Lahore, Karachi, Quetta, everywhere. And it's that overall camaraderie that develops, which ensures that that feeling of a kinship stays with you for quite some time.
Right. So, Hashim, since you're also involved in the academic landscape in Pakistan as well, currently as a visiting faculty member with a few universities, if you were to give one advice to students right now who are thinking about careers in finance or in the financial sector in Pakistan, what would that be?
I would honestly say a parrot again, something that we mentioned before.
Yeah.
Just read, just be excited or interested in what's happening in the world. Finance right now is very hands-on. We are, even in Pakistan, we are getting, it's not just the regulatory environment, even products are being introduced fairly regularly. Products that even 5 to 10 years back, we never really had. ETFs, exchange traded funds, we never had. They were just here a few years back. If I were to take anybody, even for, let's say, a asset management company right now, if they don't really understand that, that's quite problematic. If he did his degree a few years back, maybe he never really learned it. Maybe he never was introduced to it. But the fact is that as long as you're inquisitive about what's happening in the world, you will be aware of these trends. We would not expect anybody to be know everything from point A to point Z, of course, but at least be excited about the rapid pace of change globally. And that change is happening in Pakistan, be it by, of course, at a different pace or different speed, but those changes are coming. So as long as you're interested, as long as you're excited, it doesn't really matter which background you might be coming from. Finance, be it for even a graduate degree, finance introduction is brilliant because your undergrad is always going to be much more expansive. You're supposed to be a jack of all trades, or undergrad doesn't really, it actually helps you because you're a more well-rounded person. But in your graduate degree, that's where you need to be slightly more specialized. So as long as you're inquisitive about the world, that will definitely help you.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Hashim. Alisa, you came back to Pakistan 3 years ago, and you relaunched KASB Securities. So naturally, you had to source talent, you had to interact with the local pool of local financial experts. In all of that experience, and at the same time, you've been simultaneously engaged in the financial sector in Europe. Is that financial the human capital in Pakistan comparable with the international market, in your opinion?
So yes, so we are hiring a lot. We have hired 100 people in the last 3 years, and we are going to hire 100 people more this year. So agar LUMS ke students sun rahe hain, and we have hired a lot of people from LUMS as well. So, but we are looking for more talented people. So people should send their CV to us. Quality of people, LUMS, of course, produces good quality people. So there's no doubt about that. Hashim said raised a really important point, that curiosity is the most important thing. And then, as we discussed earlier, the ability to work hard. The thing which I find a bit lacking here is that ability to work hard, because I told you, okay, 90 hours per week is a normal working calendar in the UK. It's expected. So 6:45 start, 10 o'clock end. Pakistan में अभी भी वो आते हैं, वो कहते हैं 9 to 5 expect करते हैं. Or so that's the thing, that if you're working 9 to 5, and that means you're working half the hours of somebody abroad, so that means you're learning half the amount. So what people should, fresh graduate, the way they should think is that their job is their learning. That, especially the first 5 years, they are just preparing themselves. So it's an investment in themselves. Their job, that's what their job is. So they should choose a job where they can learn the most. And to learn the most, they need to spend time in developing themselves. So your job is just actually a continuation of your studies. The difference is that now you're getting paid to learn. So, and I think that kind of thinking is important. But overall, yes, the quality of talent is good. Of course, in certain areas, उनका exposure नहीं होता, मगर वो बाहर भी नहीं होता. मतलब if I hire fresh graduates out of Oxford, they will be very similar to fresh graduates out of LUMS. The only difference would be that Oxford guys would probably be willing to work harder.
Right. So this is really interesting. So work, I mean, a common theme which has been there is work hard, effort, putting in the effort, putting in the hours. So that's, I'm sure, even while listening, the first thing that came to my mind, and I'm sure students or recent graduates who are listening to it, कि क्या ये कभी 6:45 से 10 के बाद 9 to 5 होता है, या ये at your stage now, या यही टाइम रहती है कैरियर में?
नहीं चेंज होता. तो नहीं होता. But the thing is this, कि मैंने LUMS से लोगों को हायर किया अभी, और जगहों से भी किया. तो मुझे कभी कभार जब लोग मुझसे इंटरव्यू में पूछते हैं कि हमें छुट्टियां, हमारी एनुअल लीव कितनी होगी, मुझे बड़ा ऑड सा लगता है, क्योंकि मैंने 15-16 साल यूरोप में काम किया है. You never think about it. It's not a question which when you're getting a job, you're not thinking about your holidays. Especially in the first 5 years of your career, you're not thinking about your holidays at all. Hashim mentioned travel in consulting. So in investment banking also, there's a lot of travel. मैं आपको अपना routine बताता हूँ कि मैं हर क्वार्टर जब मैं UBS में था और बेरेनबर्ग में था तो मैं हर क्वार्टर फॉर 2 months एक महीने में लंदन में होता था, 2 महीने में रोड के ऊपर होता था। और ऐसा होता था कभी कभार कि मैंने अगर फ्रांस से जर्मनी जाना है तो मैं थका होता था क्योंकि मुझे नींद सही तरह नहीं आती होटल में। तो मैं कोशिश करता था कि पेरिस से वापस लंदन आऊं, रात को कमरे में सोऊं और अगले दिन दोबारा बर्लिन चला जाऊं ताकि कम से कम रात की नींद मेरी सही हो जाए। सो यू गेट यूज्ड टू इट एंड you're thinking differently. You're not thinking के ऊपर रिटायरमेंट के बाद शायद सोचते हैं हॉलिडेज का।
Okay, all right. This is really interesting. Okay. Hashim, so you're in the startup fintech landscape. Do you face a similar challenge when sourcing talent? And I know you're trying to source talent nowadays. जैसे आपकी टीम expand हो रही है.
Yes, and we have hired, frankly, most of my team as it is today are Luminites, have all been even from SSC, business school, econ, from pretty much everywhere. But the ability to take an idea and take a concept and be actually enthralled by it and take it to its logical conclusion, yes, that is something that a startup definitely can survive without any, frankly, even any high risk, high reward sort of industry such as finance really is. It can't really happen. When I was doing my master's, we were going through our interviews at that time. It was quite normal for any currency traders to say, post 32, 33 or 2, you're considered old because frankly, you cannot put in the hours anymore. It is a daunting task being a currency trader. But that is, for some people, high energy, highly enthusiastic people, that was a brilliant career to have. It's, as Lisa was saying, it's something that you really do need to work at. And even though it might be the case that LUMS graduates get the ill-conceived notion that it will be that any career, be it academia, be it FMCG, be it finance, would be a 9-to-5 job, it really at the start really isn't. You're required to, एक मुहावरा हमारे पास होता है, आपको सड़क की मिट्टी लगनी है, आपको थोड़ी सी धूप खानी है, वो जब लग जाएगी, जब आप पता चल जाए कि आप what you can take, being pushed to that point, understand, you learn more about yourself, that even though something might have seemed inconceivable, but once you've done it, it's something that you learn about yourself as well. So the first few years definitely are that. So, and it's something that is a responsibility for us as an institution as well. LUMS has to give its graduates that reality check that, be it Pakistan, be it abroad, you are supposed to put in those hours. 9-to-5 really, I don't think has been around for quite some time, and in the past decade since we've gone into our startup ecosystem, that has gone completely out the window. Amazon did not become the $1 trillion enterprise it is by Jeff Bezos going home at 5. It just doesn't work. Elon Musk is famously known to sleep in his factory when he couldn't meet his delivery timeline. So it is what it is.
इसमें और मैं एक मैं से मेंशन करना चाहता हूँ कि I don't think it's just finance specific. You know, अगर आपको कोई चीज अच्छी लगती है तो आप you're doing it because you like it, not because somebody is forcing you. मैं जब लम्स में था तो मुझे याद है कि हमारे टीचर से, one of my favorite teacher, डॉक्टर अली चीमा, वो रात के 1-2 बजे तक उनकी लम्स में उनके कमरे की लाइट जली होती थी, वो काम कर रहे होते थे. So I don't think that, you know, it's what we are talking is finance specific. It applies to everything. In finance it becomes easier because, especially in investment banking, because it's very diversified. Like, you know, it's very, like, for example, Hashim mentioned currency trader. A currency trader has to be aware of what's happening in all the global economies, in politics, and it's changing minute to minute, second to second. So it's very interesting. तो अगर आपको किसी चीज अच्छी लगती है तो आप इसलिए करते हो क्योंकि you want to do it, not because somebody is forcing you to do it.
Okay, this is interesting. So, I mean, Alisa, one thing which which has been really interesting and exciting, which I'm hearing both आपके भी बातों से और हाशिम की बातों से, finance is generally considered as a very dry and boring area. But it seems like it's very exciting. The careers of that are there in finance stream, they seem to be very exciting. जिसमें एक बहुत ही vast, there's a breadth as well as diversity है. roles में. So I mean, is that, but because that's the sense I'm getting from आप लोगों की discussion से, it's not the traditional जो हम लोग पाकिस्तान में growing up में लगता है कि जी boring, एक बहुत ही monotonous सी फील्ड होगी है.
ये आपने बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात की है. मैं सॉरी इसको हाईलाइट करना चाहता हूँ. लोग पाकिस्तान में समझते हैं कि अकाउंटिंग इज फाइनेंस, क्योंकि वो उन्होंने अकाउंटिंग की होती है, तो वो दे थिंक इट्स अबाउट एक्सेल एंड इट्स अबाउट पुटिंग द नंबर्स इन एक्सेल एंड गेटिंग एन आंसर. और मुझे खासतौर पे मतलब लम्स के भी स्टूडेंट और बाकी स्टूडेंट से भी बड़ा ये मसला होता है कि दे थिंक दैट दे ट्रस्ट द एक्सेल. Finance is not about accounting. Accounting is a separate role that you go to an accounting company after doing accounting. And similarly, actuarial science is a different subject. You go to an insurance company. Finance is not about that. Sir John Templeton said this, that a person cannot be a good fund manager if he's nothing else. That's what finance is. In finance and in investments, it's about human relationships. It's about predicting the future. It's about making relationships. It's about making friends. It's about, all those things. And it's numbers are actually not that important, because numbers are telling you what has already happened in the past. They're not telling you what can happen in the future. And that's a separate role. That's an accounting role, which is an important role, but not a finance role.
This is really interesting. Okay, and I'm sure my काफी सारे जो viewers हैं, they'll be happy to know that finance is really exciting and numbers are just a part of it. That's not the whole story. So, and Alisa, and this is, I mean, I'm asking both on behalf of my viewers as well as for LUMS's benefit as well when we are working on our programs. To be successful in financial field, from a knowledge perspective or from an academic perspective, what would be the top 2 or 3 things which comes to your mind, which both the students need to focus and both the institutions need to focus on? So we have like हमने अपने personality के ज़ुमरे में अपने hard work culture, communications की बात की, but finance knowledge wise, when you're hiring, what kind of things would you ask them about, or would you want to know?
So right now, the most important thing is technological skills, knowing tools in tech. Just because, we talked about language and the importance of language. So computer language is also a language, because now we are dealing with a digital economy. We need to know the tools which are spoken, the language which is spoken in that economy. So that's the most important thing to know, and a very, very valuable skill set. And there are various areas of it. So for example, data analysis. If you're interested in data analytics, then you should know tools like Tableau and Power BI. And further stretching, you should know R or Python and be able to do analysis on that. In the old days, it was about Excel macros. If you want to do, if your interaction is more on a B2C product, then you need to know social media, marketing tools, Facebook, etc. So understanding MATLAB, understanding tech tools is extremely important, because we are going to a digital economy. So understanding blockchain, AI, AR, hundreds of millions of people are living on digital economies, like esport, for example. There are like a billion people playing computer games and just living in that economy and using virtual currencies. So secondly, knowing about the digital ecosystems is extremely important. And then the third, it's a trivial thing, but typically when we are hiring, if somebody has done CFA or has done level 1, or at least shows intention of doing it, then that's a good signal, because it shows that you're willing to work hard on the side to pass an exam, which is quite a rigorous exam.
That is really good, and and I'm really grateful for that insights, because that not only helps LUMS, but it helps the business schools in Pakistan, when they're thinking about their curriculum for finance programs. Hashim, I would like you to answer the same question.
So the answer, frankly, was spot on. There's not something that essentially we financial skills as they are, I myself have done, as I mentioned, both MSF and CFA. What I can really say after that is everything that I did in them, as far as an interview goes, it boils down to more your skill set to really tackle any problem, be it through your ability to comprehend the problem, to just really parse it out and see look at it from different angles, be it economic, political, social, what have you. But the most major thing really is for a modern graduate is your technical tools. I did my master's, I think 2015. Even at that time, as an academic course, SQL, Python, there's not really that important at that time. But today, it is truly the bread and butter for any graduate, not just a finance graduate. But for a finance graduate who is looking at it from numerous different perspectives, these things really are do or die at this point.
All right. Okay, Hashim, I have another question for you. So, from a career perspective, since you have done a master's in finance, all right, you decided to go to North America to pursue a master's in finance. After an undergraduate degree in finance or a related discipline, to masters in finance, how much value does it add, both in terms of knowledge as well as in terms of profile and in your career path?
So my shift towards fintech, or my shift towards slightly more a more modern understanding of finance, happened after my master's. Pre that, it was frankly very corporate banking heavy. That's where I was involved in. That's essentially what I understood post my undergrad. Banking was pretty much the career path that I had chosen. But post my master, that's essentially the doors that opened up, and I understood, okay, if I were to look at a particular loan, what are the different types of it could be? How do I look at it from a credit scoring perspective? How can I then automate that? How could that lead to a credit decision versus then the risk and rewards of those sort of factors? So because an academic master's is designed to be both a balanced approach of both pure academic principles of what, let's say, what the basis of a capital asset pricing model really is from your academic perspective, and then how it relates to your practical side of the market. It forces you to look at market forces from both perspectives. I, at that point, thought I might go into proper academia, do a PhD or something. Didn't happen, came back and started on my fintech journey. That's essentially because my master's opened up my eyes to what was happening in the world and what impact I could then have.
This is interesting. Thank you very much, Hashim. Alisa, you've done a couple of masters that we are aware of. There might be more you've all done, but at least we are aware of the 2 masters. But in your experience and from your journey, how important do you think how do graduate degrees in finance and economics in finance actually help you or is helpful in pursuing careers?
एक तो ट्रिवियल आंसर है. यहाँ पे जब हायरिंग होती है लंदन और यूरोप में भी, यूएस में भी, तो 2 तरह के प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं. एक होते हैं जिसे कहते हैं ग्रेजुएट, जिसमें आप एनालिस्ट बन के हायर होते हो. उन प्रोग्राम्स में वो अंडरग्रेड्स को हायर करते हैं. और अगर मैं यूबीएस के ग्रेजुएट प्रोग्राम में इन्वॉल्व था हायरिंग करने में, तो उसमें वो नॉर्मली उनके पास 3 या 5 यूनिवर्सिटीज़ होती है, उधर से हायरिंग करते हैं, ऑक्सफोर्ड, कैम्ब्रिज, एलएसई मेनली. और उसमें वो ये नहीं देखते कि टेक्निकल स्किल्स आप में क्या है. उसमें म्यूज़िक के लोगों को भी हायर करते हैं, लैटिन के लोगों को भी हायर करते हैं, फ्रेंच बीएससी जिन्होंने की होती है उसको भी हायर करते हैं. ज़्यादातर लोग जो उस प्रोग्राम में आते हैं उन्होंने पीपीई किया होता है, पॉलिटिक्स, फिलोसफी एंड इकोनॉमिक्स, मेनली फ्रॉम ऑक्सफोर्ड और कैम्ब्रिज. तो ये हो गया एनालिस्ट प्रोग्राम. उसके बाद दूसरा हायरिंग का जो ज़्यादा जहाँ पे हायरिंग होती है वो एसोसिएट लेवल पर होती है. बेसिकली यू बिकम एन एसोसिएट आफ्टर वर्किंग फॉर 2 or 3 years. एसोसिएट लेवल पर वो ज़्यादातर एमबीएस को हायर करते हैं. वो इनफैक्ट प्रोग्राम बना भी एसोसिएट प्रोग्राम एमबीएस के लिए ही बना हुआ होता है, और उसमें वो एमबीएस के लिए भी जो टॉप स्कूल्स है उधर से हायर करते हैं. और जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ अमेरिका में भी एग्जैक्टली यही है और यूके में भी एग्जैक्टली ये है, और ना सिर्फ इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग के लिए, कंसल्टिंग और टेक्नोलॉजी में भी ये है। तो मुझे फॉर एग्जांपल गूगल ने ऑफर दी थी प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट ज्वाइन करने के लिए, और वो जॉब ऑफर थी सुंदर पिचाई की। सुंदर पिचाई, who's now the CEO, he offered me the job, and my final interview was in Marissa Myers, and this is 2005. So Google had just done an IPO. I did not take that offer. I didn't take it because I got offended. I've done 2 masters and they want to hire me at the same level as an undergrad, while they're hiring somebody who's in an MBA and he's younger than me, and they're hiring him as an associate. So I made a mistake, but that's how typically the hiring cycle works. So a master's in finance, because it's a specialist degree, it's slightly odd because it doesn't fit in the standard hiring processes. Iske baad, typically you go to a more quantitative role and you get hired laterally in the areas which I mentioned, which require more quantitative skills like fixed income and structuring and become a quant in an investment bank. So that's where typically most people go in masters after doing masters on finance. Otherwise, generally most hirings are either after an undergrad or after an MBA, or the third route, which is the common route, is that after undergrad, if you don't get into a graduate program at the top places, you go to accounting firm, KPMG, PwC, etc. You do ACCA from there, and then you get to an investment bank as an associate.
Right. This is interesting. All right. Thank you very much, Alisa, for this. Actually, now this clarifies quite a lot of things, questions that some of our students and some of our graduates have. So the whole idea of having this conversation was in basically in conjunction with SDSB's launch of MS Financial Management Program. In our discussions with our alumni who are doing wonderful things all over the world, uh, SDSB is launching an MS in Financial Management Program with this hope and aim that it will provide the requisite skill set to the financial sector in Pakistan and in the region, as well as support the technology and the fintech startup. Because I just mentioned about analytics and tech tools. That's an integral part of the MS Financial Management Program. Because in our discussions with people like you, Hashim, over the years, that's something which this SDSB has realized that is the need of the hour. So I would like to. I'm really grateful, Alisa, for your time, Hashim, for taking out the time and having a chat with us. We've learned a lot, and I'm sure our viewers have had the chance to learn quite a bit. If you have any final words of advice to the students or graduates who are listening, viewing it, or LUMS or the other business schools in Pakistan, please, Alisa or Hashim, feel free.
Okay, maybe I can go first. It's a great initiative. ये आपका program जो है बहुत important है, और जिससे आपने बोला कि जो quantitative skills और tech tools है सिखाने के लिए, ये बहुत important है. और आपने refer किया कि मैंने 2 masters किए. Basically, it's very important for people to come back to universities and learn. Because वो जो टाइम था ना जिसमें आप एक दफ़ा ग्रेजुएट करके जॉब लेते थे और फिर 60 साल पे रिटायर होते थे, पेंशन मिलती थी, वो खत्म हो गया. Now in learning, because of technology, because of AI, our careers and even the areas we operate in have become much shorter. So it's important for people to understand the importance of going back to universities and learning and coming back. So I think a master's degree is extremely important because it allows people who have done undergrad to come back and learn the new tools. So I think it's a great thing. Message for students is that if you are coming to LUMS, then of course the academics is important, but also so is everything else outside the classroom. And Hashim mentioned that you deal with different kinds of students, you learn from them, from your interaction, and that's extremely important learning. And I feel that's where at least when I went to Oxford, when I compared myself with other students, their out of classroom experience was much richer than ours were. So I think that's the opportunity of coming to LUMS and learning from your colleagues and peers and the community around you. So it's a great thing. I think I am envious of the people who can come back, who can go to LUMS in this program. I wish I could come.
Thank you very much, Ali Saab. Hashim, any final words from your side?
I think I'll keep it short. It was a very well said by Ali Saab as well. It's just that be slightly adventurous. Enjoy the time that you have. A master's, a break for masters is something that is truly to be cherished. Not everybody gets that chance. So if you can, if you are awarded that chance, it's something that you really do need to take the best use out of, be it at LUMS, be it wherever. But the pure, proper academic masters there's really nothing like it. So it has to be done.
Thank you very much, Hashim. Thank you very much, Ali. It was a pleasure having you here, and we hope to continue our conversations, inshallah. Thank you, everyone, for taking out the time for viewing this. Thank you, and Allah Hafiz.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.